So welcome to the October meeting of Hell's Kitchen Democrats. I'm Christine Gorman, the president of the club, and we have a very good uh, attendance here. I have heard from both city council members, Bottcher and Brewer, Erik Bottcher and Gale Brewer, that they will be attending tonight. We asked them to come specifically to talk about the ballot proposals that will be coming up on November 5th, but they're not here yet. And so until they come up, we have a few things, some business that we can get through, and have put an agenda, a proposed agenda in the chat. And, as we've done the last several meetings, just kind of create the agenda here at the beginning of the meeting. So is there anything, this is based on what people have told me in advance of this meeting. By political updates, that's kind of my catch-all for whatever our district leaders, Paul Devlin and Adrian Ford, would like to add if they're here, and I see Paul is here. Any other updates for anything else that needs to get added to the agenda? Okay, it looks like I have frozen.
I can hear you, Christine.
We can hear you, I think, Christine.
We can hear you.
Okay, all right. Okay, it's just my video has frozen, I guess, but you can hear me.
And see you.
See me. Okay, great. So my whole screen has frozen. So Paul, I'm going to ask you to.
No, she's frozen.
There she goes.
Now she's frozen. And I heard her say, I'm going to ask Paul to do something, but I don't know what she was going to ask me to do. So
probably move us through the agenda.
Move us through the agenda and adopt the agenda for the meeting. Did anybody have anything to add to the agenda before we approve it? If you want to raise your hand electronically, I can't see hands being raised otherwise. Dan Crespin, your hand went up. Do you have something to add? Dan?
Oh, sorry, accident.
Okay, Melinda, I saw your hand, and Jackie, I think I saw your physical hand. Melinda, do you have
I'm
something?
sorry, I thought I was voting on the minutes. Sorry.
Oh,
Jump the
not
gun.
yet. No motion yet. Jackie, did you have something you want to add to the agenda? No, okay. So given the agenda is in there and there's no additions, can we adopt tonight's agenda? Can I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So
Lafferty has moved. Carl has seconded. All those in favor of adopting the agenda, please indicate by saying aye. Seeing a bunch of yeses.
Aye.
Anybody opposed to adopting the agenda? I don't hear any opposition. Therefore, the agenda is adopted. Awesome. Great.
All four adoption.
I think there's Christine coming back on now. So Christine, we adopted the agenda. You're muted though.
Thank you. So you've adopted the agenda, and I don't know what happened with my computer, but there you go. And then I'm now pulling up the chat, and I will add the minutes from our last meeting, very capably taken by Danny Rosemarin. And that's a PDF that's in the chat now. And you can download that, and I'll give you a minute to look that over.
Can I make a motion to approve the minutes?
Okay, I have a motion to approve the minutes. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Aye. Your hand. Okay. Those opposed? Nay?
So I actually thought she was his girlfriend. He was pathetic.
Okay, I'm gonna ask everybody to mute themselves talking. So we don't have crosstalk, and any abstentions on the minutes, either raise your hand physically or digitally. All right, the minutes have passed, so great. First up on the agenda, of course, the agenda has disappeared for me, so but what I remember was next was political update. So Paul, do you have anything to update us?
The only thing that, I have two quick things. One is early voting is starting on October 26th. So everybody keep that in mind. We will be wanting to do some poll coverage at the polling locations. I know my early voting place is the Shiva Gallery at John Jay. I imagine that's also true for most people at Manhattan Plaza. I think the Shed is too far south for a lot of us, but that's another one. And there's a place north up above Columbus Circle. That's another part of our district. But most of us will be voting at the Shiva Gallery. Most of you probably remember that location on 10th Avenue. So just be prepared for that. The last presidential cycle, the early voting was at Madison Square Garden. So I was kind of surprised to see Shiva Gallery being used because it's not as big as Madison Square Garden. So it might even be smart for us to have some folks there just to keep people in line. I mean, there may be very long lines, and maybe we buy chocolates and snacks and hand them to people or something like that, and just make sure that people stay because they're going to see these long lines and walk away. So let's give some thought to that as to what we want to do to make sure that early voting goes smoothly. The other thing I have is kind of not directly political related, nor related to me being district leader, but a friend of mine called. Her son is on the advance team for Harris's visit to New York City next Monday and Tuesday, and they're looking for drivers for the motorcade. So if anybody has a license and wants to experience driving in a vice presidential campaign motorcade, get in touch with me. But you have to have a driver's license. You have to pass through Secret Service.
Oh, now you want drivers, Paul, right? Now you want city drivers.
I love driver. I have a license. I drive all the time. I don't park for free on the curb lane, but I do like to drive.
I'm kidding.
So
It's kind of bizarre that they just go from town to town asking locals to be the drivers in the motorcade.
These motorcades are probably 20 or 30 cars long. And so the Secret Service will drive the first 10 vehicles with the vice president and with the medical team and with the, all of that. But then there's always a pool of like reporters and local staffers and the local elected officials who need to be standing up on the dais and need a ride from point A to point B to point C. And they have like staff vans and things like that that follow at the kind of the tail end of the motorcade. And those are the cars that they need drivers for, right? The campaign staffs the campaign cars. But if you have, some local podunk city council member who wants to go to the event, they have to be driven, and the campaign will have the car. And so the drivers, I'll admit, it's not a glamorous position. You drive the car to the place, you park the car, you sit in the car and wait while the passengers get out, go into the event, the passengers come back into the car, and you drive away. You don't get to go up front and meet the vice president. You don't get to go into the event. You're the driver. But I would think if I had the time, I would think about doing it because it's like, imagine zipping through Manhattan, driving 35, 40 miles an hour uninterrupted and just blasting through the city because you're in a secured traffic lane that there's no traffic lights. The police have cut everybody off. There's no pedestrians. You just right through. And then I think it would be kind of fun. So if anybody's interested in doing something like that, it's Monday and Tuesday. I don't know the exact hours. I don't know any exact details. I just got asked if I could find a few drivers who would be interested in something like that. So if you are, reach out to me and I'll hook you up.
Paul, you said you don't need a car. All you need is a driver's license, right?
Correct. And the ability to, you have a clean driver's record and all that, because they will do background checks on you. I imagine it might be some sort of a van or something you might end up driving. It's not going to be a sedan. So you need to be comfortable driving something like that. And I would find out details. If I know people who want to do it, I'll connect you with the advanced team. But Carl, you're right. It's like weird. They go into small towns and like, we need volunteers to drive these cars.
Mhm.
So here we are in a small town, just asking for some drivers.
Okay, very good. So next up, I think we have a report on postcarding, and I think I saw Sandy. Yes, there she is.
You're on mute, Sandy.
Sandy, you're still muted. Still. Sandy, I'm gonna hit an unmute button on my end and see if that helps you. There you go.
Hi, I know I hit something on my computer here and I just disappeared from the site. Sorry. I have a report. September 21st.
I think you mean October 20. Oh,
No, September. I know it seems like a year ago. We filled out about 245 cards. I still have about 200 of them sitting here waiting for the people who really know when I should mail them, tell me to mail them. We have our next and our final blast coming up on Monday, October 14th, which is a national holiday. And Carl is working on the location. And we still have about 400 postcards. And we have a whole other pile of just get out the vote cards, which we could use. And I will buy some more stamps. Other than that, I'm going to put out the call after I talk to people like Carl and Paul and Liz and Jackie.
Do you know who you will be sending the cards to, Sandy?
No.
Okay. Something that we might discuss tonight is whether or not we want to get out cards within our area here in Hell's Kitchen to make sure people flip the ballot and vote yes on Proposition 1. You'll remember that we had a whole list of folks that we sent postcards to for judicial delegates, primary, top primary voters, and we could use that list again to get out the word about Proposition 1. Or we could find some more addresses. We're in touch with the New York State Democratic Committee. We could get more addresses for Laura Gillen on Long Island. What are people's thoughts? Paul, go ahead.
Paul and Liz are going to go at it, I think. I mean, I think that I like the idea of doing the Prop 1 cards to the people in our district, because it reminds folks that Hell's Kitchen Democrats is active, it keeps people connected, and it's an important issue. When I was out canvassing last weekend, nobody knew about Prop 1. So it's probably a good thing for us to do for our local area. And then I still reinforce the fact that we need to support our adopted districts of Laura Gillen and Mondaire Jones. I think that it feels good when we feel connected to a campaign. When they win, we'll feel like we really contributed, rather than just doing 100 cards to one district, 100 cards to another district. If we do 1,000 cards to one candidate and they win by 500 votes, we're going to feel more connected, I think. So I'm advocating stick with Laura and Mondaire. Liz, you're going to disagree?
Okay, I've got Kat next. Go
No,
ahead.
Liz had her hand up, and then.
Oh, I'm sorry. Liz, then
Okay.
Kat, then Carl. Liz, Kat, Carl.
Actually, I am agreeing with you, Paul, but I think we should focus on the ERA. I really, because from what I'm hearing, it's going to be the downstate votes that are going to push this over. It's not going to be upstate. We need to like really bring it, you know, down here in Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens. I say we just go with that, quite frankly.
Okay, Kat, then Carl.
Thanks, Christine. So I canvassed both on Saturday and Sunday this past weekend. Saturday for Laura Gillen and Sunday for Mondaire Jones in Rockland County. And I have to say, I have a really uneasy feeling about Rockland County. First of all, no one had heard of Prop 1. And second of all, Democrats were, you know, wanting to vote Republican. So I say we definitely send out Prop 1 postcards for also just as a duty of being a local club. But I would strongly recommend that we postcard for Mondaire Jones as well. Thank you.
I would just like to second really what everyone has said. I was also out in Rockland County, not a whole lot of realization or understanding about what the propositions were. And I think here it would be a great branding exercise for the club as well to send out some mail to the people that are in our immediate community who were named after. And these are also folks that we know are going to vote in a way that we want on that issue. And we all live here together. So I think it would be a great idea to do a postcarding to the immediate Hell's Kitchen neighborhood on this issue.
Okay, Ruby.
I was not in Rockland County, although this afternoon I was downstairs having coffee with the seniors at coffee hour in Manhattan Plaza. And I sat at a table with 4 other people and none of them knew about Proposition 1. None of them. And I explained to them, I said, if you believe in the woman's right to choose and gay rights, vote yes on Proposition 1. So if we could, besides postcards, to make up a flyer, one of the politicians could make up a flyer and I'll go around and put them on their doors. But people need to know about it. They don't know.
Okay, Leslie, go ahead.
Just to, I guess, fill everyone in, this is what we talked about at exec, that we would take out an ad in our local West 42nd Street magazine, either a banner ad or a side ad, and it's two-pronged, obviously. One is to promote ourselves as HK Dems, but that's not our main thing. Our main thing would be to promote Prop 1, just, you know, flip it, it'll be a banner ad, and then below it we could say, you know, powered by your local Democratic, you know, party club or whatever, HK Dems, but it's really to highlight the Prop 1, and I think that's what we voted to do. That I think it would be, we should really move on that, because I think it would help us twofold or maybe multifold.
So a two-pronged approach, the ad that we've already talked about for West 42nd Street, and then postcards. Go ahead, Jackie. Jackie, you're muted there.
Combine these two, they're very related, Prop 1 and the ERA. So is there a reason that both issues couldn't be on one card?
Prop 1 is the ERA.
Oh, okay. I thought they were, it was sounding like they were two different issues.
No, Prop 1 is the ERA.
Okay.
The New York State ERA.
Right. So just a reminder to everyone, Prop 1 is statewide, a statewide proposal to change the Constitution of the state of New York. The way our system works in New York State, the constitutional amendments have to pass the legislature twice, and then they can go before the electorate. So this has passed the legislature twice. These rights and protections are already in the law. The reason for getting them into the Constitution is to sort of inoculate the state against a Republican takeover, if that should ever happen. particularly if the governorship goes, then our rights would be protected. As we've discovered, particularly with the push for a possible national abortion ban, the anti-trans movement across the country, we thought we were protected in New York, and we're not as protected as we thought. And so amending the Constitution would help protect us more. There have been a lot of people trying to get no on Prop 1 using anti-trans arguments, particularly upstate New York, Lee Zeldin and others. Carl, you have your hand up, and then Paul Devlin. Carl, you're muted.
Sorry, just a logistical question in terms of like what list we would use for any type of like local mailing, and is what the cost of something like that would be.
So I actually asked the Board of Elections a while ago for the most up-to-date voter lists for Assembly District 75. I have that on DVD, and I have a DVD reader, and I can, as I did for the judicial delegate, it's for the judicial delegate race, it's not difficult for us to get those addresses.
And just, I'm sorry, those are just registered Democrats in 75?
Those are registered Democrats in 75, yes. Okay. And we can narrow it even more if we want. I have database software where I can take
sort the list.
Sort the list by people who voted the most and most consistently. So the addresses is not the problem. We've had a little bit more trouble getting addresses from the state campaigns, but now that we're connected to the Democratic State Committee, I know I can get addresses for Laura Gillen if need be, and presumably we can also get them from Mondaire Jones. The other issue, we bought a whole bunch of postcards and stamps back in the summer before prices went up. And if I'm hearing Sandy correctly, we have at least 400 postcards, 300 postcards and stamps, and we can get more if need be. So we can work out those details. Paul, go ahead. And then
just a logistical thing, and I probably should have thought of this when we were doing the agenda. We did talk about at the executive committee meeting about after the presentation today from Erik and Gale on the propositions that we officially vote to endorse the position of yes on Prop 1, so that it's officially recorded, that we can then spend the money and put our resources into that. So I want to pay attention to that is new business. Maybe someone can make a motion to endorse yes on Prop 1. And if we need postcards for Prop 1 specifically, I bet that New York Equality Group that's organizing the campaign for Prop 1, they may have some postcards, and we may be able to just get 200 or 300 cards from them, and we can just address them and put notes on them. And Sandy, I'm happy to kind of reach out to those people and see what they have for supplies.
Okay, Frank, go ahead.
Yes, something just occurred to me. Would there be any disadvantage from what you just said when you said that people are sending out that they sent out the lists of registered Democrats and registered Republicans? If all of a sudden a bunch of Democrats would to suddenly register Republican, would the Trump campaign send out a bunch of mail to them and spend a lot of money on
that turns out to be harder to do in the state of New York than you might think. And probably what's more important for us is to focus on getting out the Democratic vote to answer that question. Okay, Liz Keefe, you have your hand up. I'm going to disappear for a second because I was just sent something on my phone. I have to find my phone.
Yeah, okay. I was just letting you all know that I'm kind of working with the Vote Blue Coalition, and I'm sending them all a message to know if they know about they have palm cards for the Prop 1 campaign, but do they have actual postcards? And maybe I'll get back before this meeting is over with. Just letting you know.
Thanks, Liz. Yeah, I don't know if they do or not. But if they have them, why should we print postcards? Let them do it. Save us the money.
Leslie, can I ask you to chair the meeting while I go in search of my phone, because there's apparently a hateful ad in a local upstate paper about the evils of Prop 1. It includes the mutilation of kids through trans surgery, abortion up to birth of baby, and voting by non-citizens. So there is a very strong anti-Prop 1 movement upstate, which is why we need to, but I wanted to find that. So Leslie, if you can chair the meeting while I find that.
Sure. Anyone else? Sorry, I'm jumping in here. We can just continue on this conversation. But Christine, what do you want me? Can you hear me? Everyone can hear me? Okay,
I can hear you. We're talking about, it sounds like maybe what we should do is vote to endorse Prop 1, even though it's technically new business.
How about are you looking for on your phone the actual ad? Is that what it is, Christine?
Yes, that's what it is.
Why don't I do that for you? And then I can send it to you when I find it.
Okay.
And do you want to do that? I mean, do you need the ad right this minute is that what you're trying to share it with people?
That's true. I was trying to share it.
Do we know where the elected officials are? They're supposed to be talking to us about these propositions. Has anybody found out where Erik or Gale are and why they're not here yet?
I have not, because
Erik is probably like 12 minutes out.
okay, and I will send a text to Gale Brewer. So
move on to buses then.
Yeah.
So just to be clear, Prop 1 is statewide. Propositions 2 through 6 are only for the city of New York, and that's why we invited our city council people to come speak with us about that. Yeah, why don't we go on to buses? Paul, go ahead.
Oh, not me. Who's talking about buses?
Okay. Well,
I mean, I can if you want me to. But
I know that I just got word that the 28 of us who went out to Long Island last Saturday knocked on 605 doors for Laura Gillen, and the local organizer, Christopher, said he would love to have HK Dems come back again because we were the most effective group, basically, that they've had. And so, and I know, Paul, you went to on a full bus to Mondaire Jones, and how many doors did you knock on?
yeah, so the bus on Sunday went to Mondaire Jones. We had about 6 HK Dems members of the 47 on the bus, but 47 people knocked on 2,000 doors and talked to 300 people. And the local organizer came on the bus at the end of the day to thank us all for all of our work. And he said the swing in that district in the last cycle was 1,800 votes. So 300 in one day is 1/6 of their need to win the election. So they're like, this effort is really just very impactful, very important, very helpful. Liz has been on all these Vote Blue organizing committee calls. They now have 2 buses that leave on Saturday from Union Square, 1 bus that leaves on Sunday from Union Square. They have an Upper West Side bus that's now going. They have a Upper Manhattan, like Harlem bus that's going, and that's getting filled with a lot of bilingual people that are going out to tackle bilingual turf. So this Vote Blue organization that, by the way, HK Dems contributed to, is doing just outstanding work. And for us to have contributed financially, I'd really like to echo that what we need to do is get our butts in those buses. I remember saying to people in 2016, when I got invited to the protests in DC after the election, after the loss to Trump, and everybody's going with their pink hats, and I'm like, let's not get on buses to DC to protest the loss of this election. Let's get on buses now to the swing districts and make sure that Kamala wins and that she has a Democratic Congress. I have put in the request, and Liz can probably give a better update on this, on buses that would be going back to either Lauren Gillen's district or to Mondaire Jones's district. And if we do have those buses going to those districts, I really would urge everybody here, when we send out the reminders of those buses, to sign up and participate and come. Join, because when I don't know, Kat was with us, Carl was with us, Rob, I see you nodding your head. I heard you did a great job out there in Laura Gillen's district. So new people, veterans of the network, like, it's a lot of fun. It's a great day, and HKDM's presence makes a big difference. So go, get on a bus.
Great, thank you, Paul. We've got Frank, then Carl, then Liz. Frank, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just left it. I forgot to take my hand down and when I spoke before. Sorry about that.
I would just want to just say I had a really great experience at the door knocking, and I hope if you haven't done it before, you might consider going. I know it's a little scary to do, actually. I mean, you're in a strange neighborhood, like that you don't know, walking down the street, going up strangers' doors. It's not something New Yorkers find themselves doing very often, but I have to say, every door we knocked on, I interacted with a lot of people. The weather was a little funky, which at first I was bummed about, but then it turned out a lot of people were home because they didn't go out. So we had a lot of interaction, people that were all for, but most people like listened and thank you. And every interaction I had was positive. I even got 2 Republicans who were actually the nicest people I met that day, believe it or not. So I just want to encourage folks who haven't done it to come with us and give it a try. It's not as scary, and it actually feels really great to talk to people about why this election is really important. So just wanted to give it that plug.
Okay, Liz Keefe, go ahead.
Yeah, and also if you've never done it before, you're paired up with somebody that's done it. So you're not going out there blind. There is somebody leading you, working with you. There's plenty of people that have done it before. So just know that. And generally, it's not Republican lists. I mean, like Carl said, you're going to get 1 or 2 maybe pop in there, but generally not. It's infrequent Democratic voters or newly registered Democratic voters. That's what it is. This weekend, they're doing 3 buses. This weekend, they're focusing on Pennsylvania and Pat Riley's district, Congressional District 18 in New York. I'm going on one of the buses on Saturday, if anybody wants to join me. And then what they try to do is rotate. So they don't have the next subsequent weekends planned out quite yet, but it's like kind of a cycle. If they're going to 18 this weekend, they always go to Pennsylvania every weekend. But if they're going to New York 18 this weekend, that likelihood is in the next 2 weekends, New York 4 and New York 17 are going to come around again, just so you know. And we'll get those links out as soon as they post them. What happens, while you might say, well, this is really what's going on. Like, why don't they have it listed yet? It's because they have to work with the field offices in a specific area. So they need to make sure it's a lot of coordination with the field office. We can't just show up. They have to have addresses for us, cars for us. There's a lot of organization involved. That's why they can't just put it out there. They have to have like backup on the other end, just to explain that.
Okay, so that gives you the latest on the buses, and I put in the chat a JPEG. If you look in that lower right-hand corner, this was in the Glens Falls Chronicle, an ad, vote no on Prop 1. And that's upstate, that's near Lake George. And they're just clearly trying to sink the proposition as by saying all kinds of crazy things. So another reason why we need to really push Proposition 1. I think I just brought Gale Brewer in. Yes, there she is.
Thank you very much, Christine. I'm in the lobby of a hotel, so I hope it's not too noisy, and I don't have my earplugs, but how are you? Thank you for reminding me. Thank you, thank you. Oh my God. I don't know. I mean, I can tell you about, you know about Proposition 1. The 2 through 6, the issue there is there may be some, like Proposition 2 talks about sanitation and taking on some of the Parks Department duties, which would make sense. 2 through 6, the reason that most of us are saying no is 2 reasons. Number one, I think the reason that the mayor decided to do it was the city council wanted to have advice and consent from some of the commissioners. And in order to do that, it has to go on the ballot. So the mayor saw that and then quickly put together a very, in my opinion, poorly selected charter commission. And then in 2 months, you can't change your constitution in 2 months. So in 2 months, he definitely railroaded through this 2 through 6. The one that's particularly egregious, they mostly try to, one, make sure that the city council doesn't get to put anything on the ballot. Because I think, if the mayor has a charter commission, then whatever the council comes up with cannot be on the ballot. It can be on the ballot on a special election or a primary election or a general election. So that issue of those to have advice and consent might come up again. But in November of this year, this 2 through 6 will be on. A couple of them try to usurp the city council, like the one that says you have to have a discussion and a briefing paper on the financials before you pass the bill. Well, we do that already, but they want it, meaning the mayor's office, months in advance. It's not negotiated. It gets negotiated, to be honest with you, with the mayor's office towards the time of the stated meeting. But they always have financials. What is the financial impact? Second, the mayor's, I think it's number 4, that says this is all based on police departments. They want to have some say at the mayor's office about what timing is involved for discussion of any bill to do with public safety. We have a lot of hearings on these topics. I don't think the mayor's office should be telling the city council what kind of hearings, what the time frame should be, et cetera. So it's both, maybe even 3 reasons. You are only doing this because you don't like the city council's advice and consent. Number 2, you shouldn't be changing the constitution of the city of New York with just 2 months. And to be honest with you, some very lightweight members. I know them all. There's some very lightweight people. They may be my friends, but they don't know anything about charter revision. And number 3, you're usurping in some of your recommendations, city council constitutional rights, in my opinion. So to me, it's just no, 2 through 6. I hope that it clarifies it a little bit, even though there may be some good ideas there. And also some of those can be done legislatively. Why didn't you suggest legislation on some of those? You can do it legislatively.
Thank you, Gale. So just to summarize, yes on Prop 1 and no on 2 through 6 is your recommendation. So yes on 1, no on 2 through 6.
Right.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for giving us your recommendations on that.
Thank
And
you.
thank you for jumping in like this.
Thank you for reminding me. I appreciate it.
Sure thing.
All right. Thank you very much. You need anything else or you're okay?
No, we're
Okay.
good.
Thank you so much. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay.
You know,
And we should be hearing from Erik Bottcher soon, Carl tells us. So I just put in the chat a Fox News article talking about the New York ballot initiative that with its anti-trans casting of it by the MAGA Republicans. So once again, just a reminder, City Council member Gale Brewer, who represents the northern part of Hell's Kitchen from 55th Street North, recommends yes on Prop 1 and no on 2 through 6. And we'll hear from Erik hopefully very soon. Okay. I think I'm sorry, go ahead, Paul.
I have a time filler if you want to kill some time.
What's that?
Can anybody name the town of the birthplace of the Republican Party? Go ahead,
It was
Danny
on
Rosemary.
Ripon. It was on
What?
tonight's news, or it was on MSNBC tonight.
Yeah, Wisconsin.
Ripon?
Ripon.
Wisconsin.
Ripon, Wisconsin, which is the
Oh,
home of
Ripon.
Ripon.
I'm from there. R-I-P-I-N. Ripon.
That's where I went to college, is Ripon College in Ripon, Wisconsin, and I had a ripping good time.
Yes.
But that's why she was in Ripon. It's the birthplace of the Republican Party with Liz Cheney today.
I would have guessed Springfield, but that's good to know. Yes, Danny, go ahead.
Apropos of that, I saw Liz Cheney's speech at Ripon, which was amazing because not only did she come out in favor of Harris, as a much better alternative to Trump, but she actually spoke glowingly of Harris and the importance of her role in our society right now, in terms of the value that she brings to girls growing up and young women, and specifically made the point that she is an excellent candidate for president. So it wasn't like I'm standing here, choosing the lesser of two evils. It was nothing like that. And also Harris's speech was as inspiring as any I've heard, and she really, if you heard it, she really made really clear the disparity between her and Donald Trump in terms of someone that will respect the Constitution and support it and defend the constitutional rights of the people, to someone that has specifically and very clearly stated his wish to abrogate it when it suits him. So it could not have been, the stakes could not have been made more clear in those two speeches that I just heard from Liz Cheney and then from Kamala Harris.
Okay, great. Josh Ellis, you had your hand up?
Yes. Is there any way that you can provide us with a little e-flyer or whatever way it would be, that what our position is on propositions 1 and then 2 to 6, that just explain it really simply, that's easy to understand, that we can send to other people and say, this is our suggestion to you, because not everybody could be at this meeting, but I can think of hundreds of friends who would like to see it if it's easy to explain.
Yeah, I think that's a very good idea, Josh. And that's something for those of us on the exec committee and who are working on, should probably pull together. Liz Keefe, go ahead. And then I saw Erik come on, so I want to switch over to Erik, but Liz, go ahead.
Paul, do you have any of those ERA palm cards left? Because we could create an e-flyer from that we could distribute, maybe email to our general membership list.
I have some of the palm cards from, so
Simply explain on that. Is there a way that we could make that into an e-flyer somehow? I mean, I'm not well versed in that. Not my skill set, but then we could email that to our general membership list so everybody has it.
okay, that's a good idea. And under new business, I'd like to take that endorsement vote. But
I just threw in the chat a link that was sent to me by the Manhattan Democratic Party on the talking points for Prop 1. So that Google Doc that I just posted is bulleted talking points. So if people want to click on that, you can take a look at that. And then we can work on, and to follow up, we'll do more flyers, I think, Liz. I think that's a good idea.
okay, so now I'm turning it over to Erik Bottcher, our city council member for most of Hell's Kitchen. And Erik, thank you so much for joining us. I think we're pretty clear on Prop 1, but we'd like your advice on Props 2 through 6.
First of all, thank you so much for having me. And I am standing outside a Mondaire Jones fundraiser. So if he walks by on his way out, I'm going to put him on to say hi to you, because I know that HK Dems has adopted Mondaire as one of your races that you're doing so much on. And thanks to Paul for being my co-bus captain. Last Sunday, we had a full bus, and even though it rained, every seat was filled, which like never happens normally when it rains. And I see Kat, who is there, and Danny and others. So let's start with number 2 about the sanitation. So, you know, one of the problems with these is that they sound great on first glance, but this is the mayor trying to curtail the power of the city council and giving agencies empowering them to do things that we would otherwise need to legislate, and cutting out opportunities for public input. You know me and sanitation and enforcement, but these rules have to be crafted carefully and with input from homeowners, business owners, residents. So it's just an example of the commission ramming something through that sounded good and circumventing the city council. Ballot proposal number 3, about spending, and it really requires like a redundant review of processes, of laws. It add costs and delays. Again, we're talking about something that we could legislate, which is the point here, that we could legislate any one of these things. They don't have to be ballot amendments. Oftentimes when things go on the ballot, it's because they have to, that they can't be legislated. And that's just something we fundamentally disagree with. We just fundamentally disagree with the idea of putting things on the ballot that could be legislated if they don't need to be on the ballot, without even attempting to go through the city council. Ballot proposal number 4, blocking public safety laws. I think this is another example of the mayor trying to curtail the power of the city council, do an end run around the city council, and intervening in lawmaking that could potentially hold his administration accountable for like corruption and dysfunction. And it prevents votes on laws in the final months of the legislative sessions, meaning that like we wouldn't be able to pass any legislation relating to public safety, even if even if the time was of the essence, we'd be banned by the city charter of doing it. You know, I think Gale probably talked about the genesis of this whole commission, which goes back to the fact that we were going to, we passed legislation that would give the council advice and consent on mayoral appointees. And we would do it in a way that didn't lengthen the process, but would give us input on the mayoral commissioners. And he retaliated by doing this. So that's why we oppose it. And we're going to be spreading the word to people between now and early November.
Thank you very much, Eric. So there you have it from both of our city council members, why they are recommending that you vote no on propositions 2 through 6, which will be on the back of your ballot on November 5th, and early voting, of course, starting on October 26th. Thank you, Eric, and thank you for taking time out from the fundraiser to address us.
Thank you so much. Go Mondare, go U.S. Congress with Wilson Scent Packing.
Great, thank you. Good night. So a couple of other announcements I wanted to be sure and make. Some of you may know that Heather Laval has resigned as membership director, and Stephanie Jones is taking over as interim membership director until we can have elections in January. I saw Heather last Monday and thanked her in person for all the incredible work she's done as membership director. And the club has also, the executive committee voted to send her a gift certificate to Amazon to thank her for all of her hard work. And so if you see Heather, you know, be sure and also add your thanks. Another point, there's been some news recently about casinos, and I just want to reiterate that the club took a position as a club at our January meeting against any casinos in Midtown Manhattan. That is still the position of the club. It was an overwhelming vote. Individual club members can have, you know, different opinions, but the position of the club is strongly against casinos in Midtown Manhattan. So that brings us to new business, and I would entertain a motion that the club endorse Proposition 1 and encourage our our members to vote yes on Proposition 1. Kat, go ahead.
I move that HK Dems endorses Proposition 1, the New York State ERA, and takes a position to amplify that vote in favor.
I have a motion to vote in favor of Proposition 1. Ruby, go ahead.
I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Yes, Kevin, go ahead.
I offer a friendly amendment, if it's okay, that we also say that we recommend that for 2 through 6 that folks vote no.
No, we have to.
I would suggest, Kevin, that we make that a separate motion. Let's separate them at the moment. So let's focus on Prop 1. Any other discussion on the motion to endorse Prop 1 and encourage our members to vote yes on Prop 1?
Can I ask, if we do vote yes, would we be able to join the coalition of yes on 1 New York Equality and give them our banner to add on to their materials.
Okay, the maker of the motion was Kat. Do you accept that as a friendly amendment? Kat, that we also add our banner? You're muted. Kat, you're muted.
Yes, I do. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Ruth.
Okay, so the motion, just to remind people that we endorse Prop 1, encourage our voters, our members to vote yes, and that we add our voice to the equality group. Carl, go ahead.
Maybe this is a separate motion too, or unnecessary, but do we need to decide on if we're going to send it, do this as a mailing? To encourage folks to vote on Proposition 1?
I think that's separate.
Well, then we can call the question on this.
All right, Liz, Keefe, go ahead.
Yeah, I just sent messages to the people that are in the know on this, that are kind of, on the ground doing this. I haven't heard back if they have any postcards. I don't have the answer yet. I'm hoping they do.
Okay, well, we'll follow up on that.
So I'll follow up with you all. Yeah.
Meanwhile, there is a motion on the floor to endorse Prop 1 and encourage our members to vote yes on Prop 1. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any other discussion about this motion? Are you ready to vote? All in favor of the motion, raise your hand either physically or digitally. Okay. Those opposed, so everybody lower your hands. Carl, Jackie, Alex, lower your hands. Alex, lower your, okay. Now all those against the motion, raise your hand, either physically or digitally. No against, and anybody abstaining. So the motion passes. Okay, I think there is consensus that we will be doing a postcarding event in favor of Prop 1, and I think we can work out the details between the executive committee and Sandy and others. Now, do you want to discuss making a motion on propositions 2 through 6? Leslie, go ahead.
I would say no. We don't have the other side. We just heard from 2 council members of, obviously this will limit council members' power. So obviously they have a very staked interest in the outcome of this. But if we're going to have a discussion about it, we should find out the pros and cons, especially some of them like clean streets, fiscal responsibility. The public safety one is really just to require city council to give a 30-day notice before hosting hearings on public safety, which some people have been fighting for. So you can have more of a public, they do anyway, obviously, post, but the more input, the better. I just think these are very nuanced things. And right now, if we're going to be frank, and Carl probably can't speak to this, but knows about this. I mean, there's a little bit of a pissing match between the mayor and city council, right? There's like power stuff going back and forth. So for us to kind of say, yes, let's do, vote no or yes on this, I don't think it would be based on the actual props, which we should at least be well versed in or educate ourselves in before we vote on it. Either way, for or against.
Okay, Dan, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with Leslie. I think I understand the argument for the city council, like legislative power, but Prop 2, for example, seems like it on its merits cuts through bureaucracy and gets good things done. So I would love to hear the other side of it before we take any votes.
Okay, does anyone want to make a motion on these other propositions?
Can I ask a question?
Sure, go ahead, Sandy.
What if this mayor is not the mayor next time around? And we've already voted for the, whatever this 2 through 6 is.
Good question. I can't answer that. Okay, so
No, Sandy brings up a good point. These would go beyond what whoever is the current mayor. It would go beyond, it's not mayor specific. I mean, it is right now in this moment, but it's not after any further elections. It's.
so these propositions would survive this mayor. Okay, if they pass, they would survive this mayor. Go ahead, Julie.
I don't think we need to give the mayor, whoever he is, any more power. And I don't think we need to put more steps in these processes. I don't know about you guys, but I think the council members are elected more universally and represent all of the different pockets of the state and are doing their job. It's been looking to me like the mayor's been getting in the way. And Sandy's point is very good. Right now, certainly, I don't want to give him more power for anything. I wouldn't want to give any mayor more power for anything right now.
Okay, Leslie, go ahead.
I think we should, Julie brings up a very good point for any specific mayor. I agree with her actually 100%. But some of these props are not mayor specific. It's like the one of them is a fiscal responsibility. It just like one of the props, I think it's 4 or 5, it says that it requires city council to publish fiscal impact statements on before hearings on proposed legislation. So whatever legislation they put through, there is a fiscal responsibility, like what that would cost to implement. So that's not necessarily giving anyone more power. It's some of it's more onerous, some of it is not, depending on which side. So it's depending on which side of the aisle, I guess you're at.
Okay, Dan, you have something?
Yeah,
And then
just one more thing. I think, Julie, I think you make a really good point, but I feel like this is right, more nuanced, and all we got today from Gale and Erik was it's like mayoral power versus city council power. And I would just like to hear a little bit more about each individual ballot proposal and what the pros and cons are.
Okay, I've got Sandy and then Danny.
How many people do you think are going to vote yes or no on this when we don't even know what it's about? I think it's moot. I think most people are not even going to turn over the ballot, no matter how much pitching we do, or maybe they'll turn over the ballot and vote for one. But I mean, if we don't know, and it's what, a month away? If we don't know what's going on, nobody's going to vote for this. Why are we spending a lot of time?
Okay.
It's really precious right now.
Danny and then Barbara connect.
Yeah, I'm hearing everybody. I just want to make mention, if you don't know already, that all the proposals are listed and explained pretty succinctly in this guide, if you take a few minutes to look it over. The thing is that if we don't make a decision whether or not to endorse, we're really not going to have the time to meet and decide together before the election. So we could educate ourselves and just leave it up to ourselves individually. But, that's just one idea here via this.
Okay, and whose guide is that, Danny?
This is from the Board of Elections. Yeah, this is from the New York City Campaign Finance Board specifically.
It came in the mail to all registered voters. You should have it.
Yeah.
And if you don't, write to the Board of Elections and ask. It was in my mailbox yesterday.
Yeah, I was going to say it came to me today also. But I also think there are some other articles in City and State and some other places. I think if you just read them, I think most people are going to vote yes, because they sound you know, very simple and reasonable. So if we do have a strong feeling of, that they are, and I'm kind of undecided at the moment, then I think we really do need to take a position on them. But right now I don't, because I think as written, they sound reasonable.
Okay, Frank, go ahead.
No, I forgot what I was going to say.
Okay.
I'm
Maybe,
sorry.
all right, Stephanie, go ahead.
Thanks. I don't know who made the point earlier, but I do appreciate the council perspective, as those are the people who have boots on the ground and have, you know, a reach into the community. I think that I personally will be leaning into their position, but I don't think as a club we know enough at this point to make a motion or take a vote on this.
Okay, I'm hearing consensus that we not take a position on ballots 2 through 6, and that maybe in a newsletter or something, we give links to various arguments and ask our club members to educate themselves. Does that seem all right? Okay, so the last thing I think that any other new business? Not seeing any other new business. Am I forgetting anything? I'm all right.
Madam President,
Yes, go ahead, Ruby.
can I put in a plug?
Absolutely.
Because I'm doing a show November 1st. It's in honor of it's the day after my 71st birthday, and it's also in honor of 50 years I've been doing drag. It's going to be at Judson Memorial Church, 7 o'clock, November 1st. It's $30. Please come. Thank you.
Okay, that's the advertising portion of our meeting. Any other plugs, other concerts, or that folks, members want to let everybody know about? Okay, seeing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, with the motion to adjourn has been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Alex, did you want to discuss the motion?
Just third, raising the third.
Okay, raising a third. All right, our next general meeting will be the first Thursday in November, which will be after the November 5th election. So we will be reaching out to you for volunteers to the polls, and for early voting, passing out flyers on the ERA and the rest. But otherwise, let's vote to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
That it seems pretty obvious that everybody has voted in favor of adjourning. There's definitely more than half of us voting to adjourn. So I declare the motion has passed, and we are adjourned at 8:10 p.m.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye all.
Bye.